Well, hello there, anybody who is out there. My name's Sarah. I'm going to be your host artist today for this pretty rustic night painting. Rustic lights, that's what I meant to say. Yeah. Painting. It is live, so yeah, just beware there could be some dog barking and maybe some of my toddlers crying as well. So just be prepared for that. Also, be prepared for me to just kind of stare at my work a few times sometimes. Anyways, let me get into the supplies here real quick. I did have it on screen just a second ago. I will put that back on so that way you guys can see. So we just need some small supplies. We got our flat brush, our small round. I'll show you physically what those look like. And then as far as the blue, the black, and the white go, I do have the specific colors that I used on here. However, like you really don't need to have everything exactly the same as mine. I know phthalo blue is kind of hard to get right now at our Michaels, our local Michaels, so don't feel like you have to have exact colors. And I did do only 3 this time once again, just so that anybody who missed out last week ordered supplies and couldn't get them in time, because it happened to me, that way they could actually get their supplies. So for those brushes, this is like what I'm using, this flat square brush. It's not perfect, he's not pretty, he's all kind of frayed and just kind of beat up here a little bit because he's been through some years with me. I also have a little small liner brush here that I just grabbed out of my bag, which I only need these 2 brushes to do the entire job of this painting. So I'm going to go ahead and put those in my water cup here, let those be. I also have my paint already poured onto my little paper palette. This paper stuff is great, by the way. I really like it because my paint doesn't tend to dry out on it very fast, but yeah, I think that one was a Hobby Lobby item, though. You might want to find that somewhere else for now. Let's see, what else do we need? We need paper towels. Paper towels are always good to have on hand so you can dry your brushes in between cleaning, and that helps them get nice and clean for you. So definitely grab some paper towels. Another handy item to have on hand is a hair dryer. So if you guys want to take a second to go grab that, I'm not going to start right away. And just kind of get us all settled in. Plus, I still have somebody joining me, and she still needs a chair. You need a chair. So she's coming. She'll be joining us, getting prepared for tonight as well. So let me flip it back to the paint screen for just a second here. Feel free to hit up the chat box with any questions or things that you have ahead of time right now. Let me put that back on the supply screen, and yeah. Definitely hit up that chat if you want to, or just to say hi. I love to know who's watching me here. I can't see you, but you guys can all see me. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get us started with our first basic step. I don't want you to dip into any paint right away yet. We're just going to start off with water on our brush, and we want to really just coat our canvas in a little light coat of water. This is just a primer for the canvas, kind of like when we do our makeup for our face, we use primer first. So we just want to get this a little wet. We don't want it to be drenched. We just want it to be a little bit wet here. So if you're working on a flat surface, then, sorry, hold on one second. All right. Continue spreading this water across here all the way around. I'm just going to kind of stick it in the middle for the most part here. But you don't want to use too much water because it doesn't have to be drenched. Just enough here. All right, just give me 1 second. I'm going to shut a door because now that the dogs see their mom, they're going to talk. So be Okay, hopefully not too many interruptions here. Sorry about that. All right, so now that we got some water spread onto the canvas, again, you don't want it to be like drenched, but you do want it to be wet. So let's go ahead and take a dip into our first color here, which is going to be the white paint. And we're just going to make sure we get enough of this white paint across the dead center here of this canvas. Also, I'm working with my canvas landscape, so you definitely want it on its side, or if you want to change your painting up a little bit, you can do it vertically. It's up to you. In the end, it's your painting. You got to look at it. You got to work on it. So definitely pick and choose what you want here. So I'm just going to keep spreading this white paint around here in the center, and you want about like this much of white paint, because once we start working up into this glow and everything, we want our blue to really pick it up. So don't be afraid to be generous with your white paint. Definitely be generous here. The water helps move it along too, but it really helps to be generous when you're trying to blend colors. So white paint, long strokes from left to right. It's kind of hard to see white on white, but oh, you can kind of see it with the glare there. Look at that. And then I'm just going to bring this down a little bit on the right side with the white. Okie dokie. So give me 1 second here. I'll let you guys do a little bit more on the white while I get my mom some of her paint here. 2 seconds. Alrighty, so I am back. Now, after we get the white on here, I'm not going to clean off my brush. I'm just going to go right into the blue paint. Hold on, technical difficulties over here. You put white paint in the middle, going from left to right across. Okay. Blue paint. Now I'm going to start introducing it to the edge of my white paint here. Now I do want to like work my way into getting rid of the white paint, but I want it to stay nice and bright in the center here. That's why I'm starting on these edges first. I'm going to do a little bit on the bottom, and then I'm going to start at the top, and we're just going to start closing in on this little gap. And this is what's going to start creating that horizon line too. So we want our sky to be a little bit brighter than the bottom half. So just start picking up that blue, and we can really just start adding blue all the way up the top here. Let's just work on that. Let's just start spreading the blue all the way up. And a really nice thing about canvases is that they are fully wrapped. So you'll want to paint these sides too if you don't want to pay for a frame. Those frames are expensive, and right now it's kind of impossible to go in the store and find one that you really like in person and whatnot. So paint those edges. You don't have to think about that. I mean, you can always do it after quarantine if you want to, but for now, if you want to put it directly on the wall, you can just go ahead and start painting those edges. Okay. So let's just bring this blue all the way up to the top. Again, being generous. If you see your paint skipping a lot, you might not be using enough paint. So definitely feel free to use as much as you need to spread this across. And then we can work our way down into the middle here. If your white paint has dried too, you can always take a dip into your white paint while the blue is still on there, it's not going to hurt it because the blue, we need it, so it's just a spread. I'm just going to keep pulling these colors around. Like I said, we wanted to close off this little center here, so we're just filling in all these little blanks. Also, if you feel like you're transitioning from your light blue into your dark blue is a little rough, just imagine putting half your brush on the one part of the line. You see how these two right here are not blended. You just want to put your brush halfway on one side and half in there, and just on the part you want to blend, just work over it over and over again. And like I said, it's not super white in the middle. It's very, very, very light blue. So we're just kind of work this paint around until we get what we want. On the original painting here, there's a lot of wispiness in the sky that was created. So I don't want to like over blend and over mix. This way it kind of makes it a little bit more natural. It looks more like the morning sky. So just back and forth, moving this paint around. More of that white paint. And any streaks of white will accidentally create like a cloud look, and that's great. Like I allow that to happen. So got myself this little horizon now, this little horizon line, and as you can see, I'm just kind of going back and forth between like my white and my blue for the center here, keeping it fairly light. There we go. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with the way that looks. And the bottom half of the sky can be a little rough, like where the sky and the water are going to meet, because we're going to be putting a big black line across it anyway, so it's not going to be too hard now to cover that up and make look nice and neat. So we got that. Now I'm just going to go back into my blue, which I need a little bit more here. Okay, more blue. Looking good. Yeah, keep going. Looking good. So more rest of this blue, I'm going to start filling up the rest of the sky here. And to really get the dark night sky up at the top, I'm just going to dip a little bit into the black to touch up these corners of the blue with some of that black. Well, I'm going to do that after I get this other corner over here. Yeah, paint that top edge as well. Let's see. All right, now that all my edges are covered in blue, I'm going to take that little tiny dip into the black, smack it on the edge of my blue here, black, then blue, then add that to your corners, up top. You can go across the top here and then over to the other side. Yes. She's trying to catch up over here. She was late. She was very late. Well, she was like a few minutes late. It's okay. That's the only thing about these painting classes is sometimes you can miss some very important steps. So it's really good to be punctual, Mom. But sometimes paintings are really easy and you can catch up like no problem. But this is one of those paintings like you definitely want to be on board when it starts. All right. So I'm going to stop right here, let you guys catch up, kind of see where my mom's at to help her if she needs it. She looks pretty good over there, though. She really is good at catching up on these paintings. So good job there. I'm going to take a peek at the chat, see if anyone said hi. Woohoo, Sabrina, you are here. Hello, how are you? Right, I know I got 6 viewers right now, which is pretty cool. Let me see if I got any gifts available for you that I can put up here. So that way you guys can see what we have done. Aha, that's right. I got to do the thing where I extract my gifts out. So please excuse me while I blank stare at the computer. Send it to Rustic Lights Gifts. I would have done this earlier, but we had a big project today. We were cleaning out the garage, so it got all nice and clean, and we are just working on the rest here. Okay, got my live show, got my Rustic. There we go. Okay. All right. Still looking for that GIF real quick. All right. Looks like I didn't take the right one. So for now, let's start working on the lower half of our painting here. Looks good. So for the lower half, it's basically the same color mix. It's going to be the only 3 colors we have. But let's go ahead and give our brush a little clean, a little wash. Doesn't have to be super clean. Make sure you have more blue paint and more white paint ready. I tend to pour myself little amounts at a time and just use as I go. I am a conservator, conservationist. I can't find my words today, Mom. Been out in the sun all day. You should see the farmer's tan I got. It's great. Yeah, she's hiding. She gets to hide. Meanwhile, I'm over here. My shoulder's burning. But at least, cheers. Got a beer. Beer today. Last time it was wine. Okay, sorry. Delay. Always delaying. Oh, sparkling water, Mom. Okay, so for the rest here, we're going to just take our blue with a little bit of white in there. So I just smacked a little bit of white, added it to the bottom of my blue, and now I'm just going to spread this across. Now for the water, you want to be generous, and most of this stuff's going to be happening on this right side here. A lot of this left side, about halfway through, you're going to want to maybe pay most attention about this much of your water. This side you can ignore. Like, you can still fill it in with the blue if you'd like, but we really only need about this half of our painting for the blue, for the water. So I'm just going to start with my blue and white, keep pulling that down, and you can see this streaky stuff starting to happen. I'm allowing that by not overly like blending it, not crossing over it too many times. It will start to fade and blend into one solid color if you keep messing with it. So now I'm going to touch it with a little bit more of dark blue, and just don't forget those sides too. Keep going down with more plain blue so it starts to darken up. There we go. And then the real fun stuff is about to come. This is this black paint. Now the black paint, super strong stuff. Usually the blue and the black are going to be your bossiest colors. So blue paint here. Gonna smack a little bit of this black into it. Start at the bottom. Start from the bottom. Now we're here. Sorry. Sometimes music gets stuck in my head from just saying something. So that's one of those things. All right. Black and blue from the bottom, not overly mixing, being generous with my paints, going from left to right. And every now and then you can grab a little bit more white and put it into your mix down here, because that gives your little lake a little bit of a glow in that little spot there. Okay. So when you're happy with your water, we're just going to stop and let that side dry. If you want to go back in and add some extra things, like a little bit more brightness, you can always take some white and add some little streaks like that. Or you can just play around with it a little bit. I'm just going to kind of add some more white, give it a little bit more life in the water. There we go. I'm going to darken this right side here. left to right. If you get stuck on any steps too, or just have any questions, go to my Facebook Messenger and you'll be able to send me pictures and just kind of chat with me on there too if you want. I do have my phone on hand at all times. So it's ready for anybody who might need some extra help. So I'm going to bring you back to the painting photo so that way you guys can look at that, and I'm going to try and find out where my little gifts are at so that way you guys can stare at those and kind of see how your technique might match mine. Okay. Okay, so there's one more thing I want to do before we move on into our little miniature break here. Is we're going to, if you were here last week, Sabrina, you know how to do these splatters. So, but for everyone else, I'm going to show you. You're going to want to take some water on your brush, a clean brush. Make sure it's nice and clean. But you don't want to get rid of all that excess water. I know it's blue and it might make your stars look a little blue, but that's okay because against this dark canvas, this dark background, it will show up as white. So we want to take that excess water, add it to the edge of our white paint here. We're just going to get it really nice and runny. Not too runny. You want a little bit of thickness of it, like kind of like the consistency. What could I relate it to? Like a little bit more like chocolate syrup. Paint seems to hold its body a little bit more. Chocolate syrup seems to be a little bit more runny, but not like watery. So you just definitely want a little bit of water in there to loosen it up. After you get that on there, as you can see too, it looks a little bit blue on my brush. Maybe, maybe not. There it is. There's that blue. Okay. Now I'm going to take my finger like this from the top, and I'm just going to pull back and fire. Whoop. Fire, fire. I'm just going to do this in the top portion here. Any that fall in the bottom, you can smooth out. And you can add as many stars as you want. If you get any stars that have lines attached, those are called shooting stars after this, but you can let them dry to get rid of those later. You just have to touch up with some extra blue and stuff. So you can add as many stars as you want. Any stars that fall down here by accident, I would just touch up with a little bit more of your blue and white mixture. You can use a sideways technique like this. Oops, sorry, hit my table. You can use a sideways technique like this to kind of smooth them out real gently. Oh, we got some dark water in there now. Some happy accidents happening over here. Just like that. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with my amount of stars, and I was able to fix all this stuff in my water. So just fill up those, and let's see. That will be all we need to do for now while we take a little break here. It's not going to be too long. It's maybe going to be about 5 minutes because my middle's already dry, but I want to give you guys a chance to catch up on any spots or even fix your water. And you will have a chance later on to play with your water a little bit more if you want to. So don't feel rushed to complete that. Okay, I'm going to look for some other gifts for you because I know I have some splatter gifts. So one sec. All right, there are some gifts for you all. You can look at those to see kind of how the water consistency gets, and then how I flick it onto the canvas, and a little bit more of the smoothing out on the bottom. And that was the previous gift, but it's basically the same thing. You just smooth those out if you get any stars down there. Okay, we're going to start painting again at 7:30. So if you need more paint, if you need to use your hair dryer, anything like that to help get yourself prepared. We're going to be working in the middle section of our canvas here next. So 7:30, that's when we'll be back. Alrighty. So, back to it. Get your fingers out of here, woman. This lady. Alright, so our painting should be fairly dry. Your water over here, this area, on this side, this little corner, you don't have to worry about that right now being dry. Just mostly the center here is what we want dry. We did wash our brushes. You didn't have to wash yours if you didn't want to or if you forgot, because this water is just going to stay murky and murky. And we're going to be working with black paint now. So here we go. We're going to take our big brush here, nice and clean. We're just going to dry that off a little bit. What I like to do is just kind of squeeze it with my fingers and flatten them out a little bit here. Thank you. Paper towels on hand. So now I got my black paint. Okay, so I got black paint on my brush, and we're going to cut this canvas in half. Now, once again, we're going to just take this black. We're going to find a spot in between our sky and our lake where we want to start our line. And we're going to make it thicker as we go, so it can either go thicker towards the sky or thicker towards the lake, however it forms, or what looks best with what might have happened to your sky or your water. So just as needed is what I'm trying to say. You can always make a little mark on each side where you think the middle of your canvas is if you want, so that way you have a place to aim your brush. I just kind of wing it and hope for the best, because it's painting and a lot of stuff can just be covered up or moved over. So now I'm just going to start thickening up this line and hoping that one side's a little bit more straight than the other. But here's the thing, it does not have to be perfectly straight, because as in nature, nothing really is ever that perfectly straight. And this is just a little rough horizon line here, so some little ridges, some bumps and stuff makes it look a little bit more natural and realistic. So don't worry about it being a solid straight line. Like, you don't need a ruler here is what I'm trying to say. Bring that around the edges, and let's go ahead, and I like that top line a lot. Let's just start thickening it up a little bit. I'm going to start slow because we are going to start making the form of our lake. We're going to fill in this little section down here. So just go slow as you fill it in, because it's easier to make things bigger, but it's harder to make things smaller, which as we get older, we all know about that. So, oh, she didn't hear me. She would have liked that joke too, but it's okay. You know, you're good. You're good. Okay, so just keep working on that little line here. As you can see on my left side, I got really sloppy. I didn't really care very much. That's because I'm going to fill this whole thing in with black, and it's no big deal. Over here on my right side, we can always make this bigger if we want to. So I'm just going to kind of leave that the way it is. Now, to help us have like a little visual of where to start making our little lake a little bit thicker, or our little ridge here thicker, the bank, I am going to just start from this back corner here, and I'm going to create my first little bank. It goes down and over. And this is a very rough line. I'm going to come back and add grass and stuff to it. So again, it doesn't have to be like a perfectly solid line or anything. It's got a little bit of a dip in it as I go down. If you didn't put the dip, that's okay. We have this sharp corner up here. We're going to want to get rid of Okay, we're back. Awesome. I'm just going to wait here a second. Drop me a little chat box if you can see me, if you can hear me, all that good stuff. Just want to make sure you guys are able to see everything. So don't want to start painting. All I did was take this black line and brought it down and over, and once I caught on that my stream had stopped, I stopped for a second. I just want to make sure you guys are still there. Can't wait to have a house. Then I'll be next to my router, and I don't think I'd have this problem, but maybe I would. Who knows? I don't have Justin here to correct me. He's my tech guy. Gonna have to get him to really spruce up a room for me. Okay, but all right. I see 2 viewers here. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start continuing the painting. Okay, I'm seeing some more viewers. That's good. All right. So once you get this little slope going down and over, we just created a little bank here. Sometimes they disappear when we add the grass, so don't feel like it has to be perfect. Now I'm just going to fill in this empty space, all this part here, with black paint by itself. So just start filling this side in with that black paint. When it comes to these next few steps here, they are just going to work right, like run right into each other. So we definitely want to work while the paint is wet. We're also about to make a tree. So once we get this little part filled in here, we're going to start working on the tree. So take your time, fill this in. Also, don't worry about that bottom edge, by the way, until the end of the painting. This way your canvas doesn't get stuck to your easel, because I've seen that plenty of times. Okay. Fill it in. Okay. I'm gonna pour myself a little bit more black paint. Welcome back, everybody. I see everybody knows we're on again. All right. Okay, just filling this up with the black paint here. It's good to be generous and stuff still as well. Definitely paint your edges. Okay. Nice. Give you a few seconds to complete that. Okay, so we have our little bank here. It's nice and wet, which is good. To start working on that tree, we're not going to be switching brushes. We're going to stick to this brush here. If you haven't finished filling this in down here, like, don't stress, because we are going to be doing black on black painting here for a minute, and then it's going to proceed into some other colors. So first, with this black, we'll want to take our brush and just kind of decide where you want this tree to be centered. So I kind of am aiming for like that spot right there. So I'm just going to start pulling from outwards inwards, and let me show you a little bit more what I mean here. You can see those two little marks that I just made into the black paint. So these are just going to be a little bit of my root action for the ground. You can have some going out a little bit further. Mind you, it will fade, and when it dries, it'll just dry into the black and you won't be able to really see it, and that's what we're going to come back and do like highlights and stuff for. So for now, we're just kind of practicing getting our roots down there, and then I'm just going to make one straight skinny line here, and this tree comes up and out and over onto the other side, so I'm going to bring this up and out and just kind of decide where I want that to stop. So it's a very skinny little piece of the tree there that just goes and spreads out. And to just keep adding to these trees, we're just going to thicken up the trunk a little bit at the base here. And then you can have it start going the other way. So like one big giant snake tongue is what's happening here. Just kind of pulling these out. So I'm just going to start by making big, thick branches kind of neighboring each other. And then we can come back with a smaller brush and do some more defined branches. So just pulling this out and over. Let's give this guy a little bit more volume here. We like our trees thick around here. Thick with 2 C's, Sabrina. Sorry, that was a comment I made last week when the wine started to get to me. You know, it's a pain sip. You gotta be drinking something, right, Mom? Yeah. Yeah. And so today I got IPA, which is one of my favorite beers, but this is about paint, not beer. So we'll continue. I'm just going to start adding more branches. So as you can see, most of my big branches here, they're nice and thick. There's not too many like small ones, but we definitely need some smaller branches and stuff to help hold up all these little string lights we're going to put. So once you like the width and shape of your tree and these bigger, longer pieces of your branches, you can switch to your smaller brush if you want to. Another thing, looking over at Mom, I see, if you get those blunt ends to your branches, don't stress. We're going to be adding some leaves and we're going to cover those up. So your branches don't have to be like perfectly pointy at the end either. So don't get stuck on those if you get that way. So we're going to switch to our smaller brush here. The big brush is really capable of making those smaller branches, but I really think that first timers should use a liner brush first to make the extra branches. Give me just 1 second here. When your man brings you pizza, you don't ignore the man. So sorry, I had to put y'all on mute for a second. Pizza! I'm just going to set this aside real quick. Okay, so with the smaller brush, grab some of that black paint. You can make it a little bit looser with some water in your black paint. So you just kind of mix a little bit of water into your black paint, and then you'll be able to create this really nice liner to create a little bit more branches going off to the sides here. And you just add these wherever. It's pretty dark on this canvas already, so any of these little branches don't have to be like super perfect. You just want to add some in to create more volume to the tree. So just add as many as you need. You can make them a little thick, you can have them thin. I like to just kind of add off of the big ones and then add off of the one I just put on. And little snake tongues and stuff like that. Alrighty. Get some more of these going. Woo. Crossing over. It's okay to make them cross over each other too. Like trees do all kinds of things in nature. I want some going down. Ooh, dipping into the bright side. I just watched the new Star Wars movie the other night. Going to mention. Just watched it, and I have so many feelings about that movie, and I can't even talk about it with my other half yet because he has not finished it. He fell asleep, so everything reminds me of Star Wars right now. All right, getting these little branches. Okay. So we got our branches. We got it filled up pretty nicely. You can add some more stuff if you want. You just kind of keep it filled up. But our next step here is we're going to make some little loops for the strings, for the string lights. And then we're just going to give that all a second to dry here. So we're going to make some string lights by taking the black paint and with very light pressure, not a whole lot, kind of pick a spot in on your tree to make your first little line come down right here because we want that nice string light to be right underneath here. So I can start over here, dip low, and give it a nice little smiley face. By going back up. If your lines feel really skippy, like you see a lot of little dots and stuff, you can add a little bit of water to the black paint, and that will get covered with the water and the black paint mixed. All right, so I'm going to add a few more little strings wherever they can connect to some branches. They change. We all make different trees all the time, so the spots where they go might change. So that next one I made was right above that first one. I want to make some that kind of overlap, so I want to start over here so it hits low. Another string like there, and one more, why not? Start on this branch and end it over here. There, now our tree is covered in some strings, and we'll let those little things dry here for a second. Okay, let me see if I have any gifts for you to see all that. Okay, let's get back to it. Okay, so we did our little string lights and stuff. We're still going to be using that small brush. We're going to add a little texture to the tree real quick. I'm just going to use black, white, and a little bit of blue to make a nice little soft gray blue color here. So blue, black, and white, mostly black and white. A little bit of that blue. I'm just going to start making some little streaks on the tree to create some texture. You can use this to lighten up the roots down here in the bottom, like that. That's what I'm doing there. I'm just adding some lines, basing it off of those little rough lines we used for the roots in the beginning. You could do a little bit on the back side of the tree to help it stand out, like that. So that's with the blue-black mixture. So I'm just going to add this in all the spots that I want to create some like little glow and highlights, so mostly next to those strings. Try to skip over the string lights if you can. If not, if you cross over them, it's no big deal. So I'm just using this color to kind of highlight my tree branches a little bit. A little dark, so I'm going to add a little bit more white to my mixture here. I want it to just kind of, oops, that's pretty bright now. A little bit brighter than I wanted, but oh well, we'll work with it. Happy accidents. This happens all the time. Get a little branch light there. I'm going to put some strings over here. So yeah, wherever you got your string lights, you'll want to add a little bit of brightness to your branches. So I just added some detail to the branches like that to help them stand out a little bit more. I'll give you a few minutes to finish that up. They're wondering if we needed more ranch for our pizza, but I do not eat ranch. Well, that's a lie. I like ranch on salads, but I don't like ranch with anything else, and I barely like it with salads. It's one of those things. It's just one of those things. Okay, so if you have finished the lines on the tree, just take your time if you haven't, because the only thing you're going to do is going to be the same combo of colors, blue, white, black, to create that little blue-white, that little like bluish gray. And we're going to use that to create grass here, all along the bottom here. And this grass is just going to stand out to help it look nice and bright when we add those little lights. So this is the blue, black, and white mix. I'm going to flick some grass upwards. So you want to flick it like how grass grows, from the bottom up. So I'm going to show you real nice and up close here what I'm talking about. So I'm just kind of flicking upwards, little short strokes to create the grass. Also tilting my brush going different directions like that. And we're going to do that along the bank here as well to kind of break up that solid black line. You can use a little bit darker paint, a little bit more black in there. Ooh, that was a streak of white paint that made its way in. And we're just going to start flicking that all around in here. We're just kind of closing off this bank, making it look a little bit more lively just on this side where the string lights mostly are. You could do a little bit in the back of the tree here actually too if you wanted, because the string lights do go in the back as well. I'm just going to bring this all the way down. Maybe add a little bit more of just the black and white. Keep adding this texture. Don't need so much up here because this is off in the background, so you can let that just stay dark. And for the rest of this, we just want to draw it forward all the way down to the edge here. You can add a little bit more black as you go along because the reach of the string lights would not be able to make it all the way over there. So I'm just going to use a little bit more black to break up the rest of my bank here, that solid line. All right. A little bit more. Okay. So it got all the way down there. You can see where I added the blue, which is the parts that are the lightest, and then it just got darker and darker as it went down. We're mainly focusing on this part in the foreground here, much more than the rest, than the front up here. So, oh, there's my toddler. He wants out. He wants to see the fun. So yeah, you just have to flick upwards from the bottom where the grass grows if you're having trouble with that still. Flick, flick. Ooh, those are nice and bright little blades of grass. I'm going to let you guys work on that for a second. I don't have any demonstrative GIFs for that one, unfortunately. So I'll just drop you down to the painting. So that way you guys can just kind of look at the grass in that version and then you'll see it. Okay. Okay, so back to it. We got all the little grass down there. We should have some string lights, and we got some highlight on our tree here for the glow. So I'll give you another quick little view of where everyone should be at. If you're not, that's okay. We're going to work on this next part here. It's a little tricky. It's not too bad, actually. So it's going to be the same combo of colors over and over again here. We're going to be working on the bench that's in the foreground here. So this bench looks a little tricky, but it's mostly just lines to achieve this. So I'm going to first create my little combo of blue, black, and white. The thing to make it look a little bit more realistic and more rustic is to not overblend or overmix, and to kind of create the frame of our little bench here first. So I'm going to show you real nice and up close what I mean when we start our frame. So we should have our little brush, blue, black, and white paint on our brush. And we are going to pick out a little spot here by making two lines next to each other, or, you know, parallel to each other but facing the other way. So those are the two lines. Ooh, trying to figure this out. Those two right there. Can't touch my fingers. Those are the two lines that I just created. And from those two lines, here, I'm going to use a little extra white paint just so you guys can see my stuff better. So these are my two lines here. You don't have to use this much white if you want to. You can always go back and add it, though, if you want. So this is going to be the frame. These are the armrests. And I'm just going to create 4 little legs from those. And then just kind of go back over the previous one. So you got these 2 little arcs like that. So definitely try to get these to go straight down towards the bottom of the canvas. Because sometimes we get you can thank Mama over here. She helped me realize that sometimes that can happen. Here's an example of what not to do. Okay, so
paint that part black over.
Yeah, you can paint that black over it. So just ignore it. A lot of that's gonna get covered up right now anyway. So if you did what she did, don't worry. There's ways around. There's ways to fix it. Okay, so once you have these, you're gonna want some a line. Maybe make a mark. Let's do it this way. Let's make a mark about 1 finger down on each of these. And then that's where you'll connect the line. Now you can see I went right over on top of here, but that's because I can always paint right back over it. And that creates that little look of it being on top again. So I made a mark, and connected the line. And I'm going to do that again on the back side here. But you want it to be a little bit lower on that line. So now I made a mark about finger down, and I'm going to connect. And then bring back these back posts like that. So it looks like a bed. That's where we are. So I'll repeat those steps. Go over the top, down, a little bit of a slight upward angle, line across. Now, if this bench stumps you, I'm going to tell you now so that way you don't feel like giving up halfway through. This bench can be completely redone over and over again while the paint is still wet because you're just moving this color around. If you absolutely hate your bench in the end and just say, I don't want to include it at all, you can just let this dry and cover it in black and call it a night. Because in the end, it's your painting, and we still have quite a few more things to do on here. So let's go ahead and take a little bit of this paint now. We're going to create the bench seat that we sit on. So I like to start from the back and lead towards the front and just create a line after line after line. Here. Ooh, line, line, line. This is my bench seat. So each one of these little lines that I make, I just kind of let them do their thing. And you can just kind of skip over the back and cross over back here. Do the rest. Most of this won't show up in the foreground. Only the part is going to be this little part down here. So we just do this though, just in case we don't cover up everything. So that was just a little line, 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 line all the way across the bed like that. And I'm going to add a little bit more black now for the back half of our bench, because for the back half, we just need posts that are going upwards. So with a little bit more, there we go. Okay. Now for the back post, I'm going to just start at the top here and pull down and bring those all the way across. So let me show you. Now I got the tall ones. I'm just pulling them across like that. And we're just doing the same thing all the way over. And this is where you can choose if you want to have like an arch to it, like make it more rounded in the center. Or if you just want straight across, that is good too. Okay. So mine looks pretty rough right now, and that's because we haven't added all the shadowing and fun stuff to it yet. But we're just going to take this a little slow. So I'm just going to kind of add back the bottom here of my bench. Again, a lot of my stuff's pretty dark. And compared to what you should be working with, it should be nice and dark over there too. But if you copied me with the bright blue, then it's going to look a little bit different. Okay, so now there's the back to my bench here. And to finish it off, I'm going to take a little bit more black and connect two pieces of wood, the bottom, where our arm rests, and you should connect those two pieces and at the very bottom here. So that essentially those first two little lines there, go ahead and cover those with one solid line. And you can add a little bit of that black to the back of your posts to make them a little bit more shadowy. So I added a little bit more black right in there, just in those parts. Okay, I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to finish up that bench, and I'm going to put on the gifts for those because I do have gifts for those, thankfully. So let me get those set up for you. I basically use one same page and then just kind of refresh as I go. Okay, I see that one of my gifts here is faulty. It's not the right one. So I'm going to switch that one out with the right one that I wanted. All right. It might be a little confusing just because they're out of order. The one in the middle is like the beginning frame. The one on the left is going to be your back post. You definitely want those to be vertical as well. They can end up going the wrong direction, but you want them to be vertical with the sides of your painting. Okay, I don't want you all to get too hung up on the bench there. I know that one's pretty tricky and it might take a few tries, but luckily you can go back on this video once it's over and check out the bench a few more times if you want to in order to get it just right. So just kind of let that hang out, get as far as you can on it, let it be. For now, we're going to work on our next little project here, which is going to be that house. Now the house is a little bit more forgiving because it's off in the distance and you don't have to add as much detail to it. So I'm putting away my liner brush for a second and I'm grabbing my big brush here. And with our big brush, I'm going to grab some black paint by itself on a clean brush. And again, if you're still working on that bench, just drop it for now. Let's get the black paint on our big brush and we will start working on that little house. It's a little bit easier. So we're going to pick a spot for our house. In your first step, you just want to take your brush and use the width of your brush, which might be different if you have a 3/4 or an inch, but don't worry about that. We're going to just pull down and make a little square. This was the beginning of our house. So we got ourselves a little flat square there. It's about 1 inch tall or so. And then we're going to add 2 more right next to it. But on this first little one, we're going to use that first one as the beginning of our little house design. So 1, 2, 3, and then you will angle your brush. I'll pull this up nice and close. We're going to angle our brush so that when we go to make our house roof, we just need to use the side of our brush like that, and we can create the first angle and then the next angle. So we got the roof to our house started. And that will help us keep track of where the front of our house is as well. And that's why I brought it up nice and close, because once it's in the back there, you can't really see where that where those marks are going. So I'm going to grab a little bit of the blue and white mix that we played with before, and I'm just going to use that blue, white, and black mix, not too much white though. And I'm just going to pull, I'm going to make sure that the top of my brush stays horizontal with the bottom here. You don't want to like accidentally make the wrong mark. So you want the top of your roof to be smooth and flat, but pull to the right a little bit past the black so you can create a little bit of an overhang. So if you pull at an angle, slight angle, you should be able to get a little bit of overhang over there. And then we can fill in the rest of this with just some black for the front. It doesn't have to be an exact design. So we got the front, we got our roof here. And then you can either make the chimney with the smaller brush, or you can make it now. I'm just going to kind of throw it on there, kind of line it up with the back of the house. You can use the back line of your house here to just create a little chimney. You can use your smaller brush if you want to, but whatever I can do with my big brush, I will. A little bit more blue on my roof to make that stand out a little bit more. There we go. There. Okay, happy with my roof or my house a little bit. So I'm going to leave that there for a second. Okay, so to add a little bit of detail to this house, I'm going to switch back to my liner brush. And I'm going to grab a little bit more of the white and blue mixed with that black. Just more white, more blue, a little bit of black. And we're going to take advantage of while the painting, the black paint is still wet. So that's why we want a little bit more blue and white. And about where we started that first initial line with our square brush, we're just going to pull downwards to create little panels here in the black paint, just for the front of the house. And then for the top here, we'll go across to fill in the top. And that makes the house look like it's lit up from the rising sun. Yeah. So you go blue and white, down, 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 or up, and then across, across, across for that part there. And when you are happy with that, black paint makes a door and two little windows, which is basically, if you look at it real up close, just looks like somebody screaming. You're welcome for that visionary. Okay. You can have a little window up top. Why not? I'm going to throw one up there just because. So that's what that looks like there. And I'll post those little gifts for those because I do have stuff for that so that you can see.
Did you paint a glass door?
Yeah, black door, 2 black. Had the wrong audio on there. Sorry about that. So we're going to work on the trees now. If you're stuck on the house, don't worry about it. Like, we can come back to it after the class, or you can work on it going backwards in the video to be able to find the steps for that. For the trees, it's going to be the small liner brush again. You just start at the bottom here and then create a few branches going outwards. This is one tree on the right side. He's not too well detailed. A lot of him gets covered up by the branches, so he's just like a little 3-arm tree over there. He's not too fancy. He was done with all black, but I will take a little bit of blue and run that down one of his sides. Here, I'll do it on his left side and get myself some more black paint. All right, and then after you have that one little small tree, you're going to take a little bit over here and create the tree here. On this side, this one can be a little bit bigger, a little bit more hefty. We do have a little truck that we're going to put in the middle here, so you can leave some space for him. You can opt out of making the truck too if you would rather not include it if somebody's home or not. But I just made 2 basic trees, and again, I'm going to take a little bit of that blue and white and just highlight one side of it. Now we got. Whoop, here we are. And boom. Nope, still can't get. There we go. Okay, got our 2 trees. Technical difficulties all the time. Okay. When it comes to making this little truck, if you want to make it, you can. If not, you don't have to. But it's pretty cartoonish. It's like as if you were drawing a truck for your toddler, like me, like 5,000 times a day. And then, hey, this looks good. You're doing good. She's worried over there. She thinks she's not doing well because I haven't seen it, but like too often. But she's doing good over there. Okay, so for the little truck, I'm just gonna hide a little figure in here. I'm gonna make a little square top for the top there. Maybe part of the truck's hidden behind the house. So I got my square top, a little line there for the front of the car. And then for the truck bed, I'll just run it into the tree. It can be like kind of tucked behind and then leave some room for your wheels. So it's a pretty basic shape. It's not super difficult. Maybe like a little slime saucer there. You can make some wheels and just kind of plant it just like that. And it is optional, but you can take some blue, that blue and white mix, and just like highlight the top or the side here. Maybe the roof, and that will make it stand out against the background a little bit more. Okay. The last thing we're going to do with our little liner brush over there on that side is just create the little fencing, which the best way to do that is to make posts. And these posts kind of end over here on the left side. They don't actually like make it all the way across. It kind of looks like it maybe is going down a hill. So I like to just put like one post kind of like leaning on its side and then one more standing up. To help these posts kind of be spaced out a little bit more evenly, you can always use like a pinky finger or a forefinger or something and just do some very light-handed, don't use too much pressure to make these little posts go all the way across, however many you need to fill up the front here. I'm going to just kind of stop there because my truck kind of took up that space and then continue my post over onto this side. I'm not going to do them in front of the house. I'm just going to skip over the house. So now I got some posts going all the way across there. And they're spaced out about a pinky finger tip apart. And I'm going to add a little bit of water to my black and twirl my brush a little bit more so that it's a little bit more pointy. So I can start a little lower than the top of the post and just drag that line along the top there. No, thank you. Wi-Fi password? And then let me just draw this line across here. There we go. All right, give me 1 second. I'll get that Wi-Fi password to my board. Okay. So we got our posts, we got our trees, we got our house, our truck and everything. You didn't have to make the truck if you didn't want to. So that pretty much concludes the house. You can definitely do a little bit of blue highlight on the chimney if you want, like on the left side of the chimney, just to kind of help that stand out a little bit more. But otherwise, we're going to clean off our little brush and we are going to start making the lights on our string lights here. So just so you all know, there's not too many steps left to the painting. You are pretty much only a few steps away from finishing it. So our small little liner brush, nice and clean, is what we need next. And I'm going to pour myself a little bit more, just a smidge of blue paint. You don't need to pour a whole lot if you've ran out. I'm just going to get a little smidge of it because I just need enough to make a dark, well, a little bit of white and blue. It's not dark blue. So it's not a light blue. It's kind of in between. So just a little bit of blue and white together, maybe 50-50 mix. And when it comes to these little string lights, you can start in the center somewhere. So I'm just going to start right here and then add a little bit more. Well, hello there, toddler of mine. Hello, come on over here. Come here, you want to sit with me? Say hello. Ah. Okay, so we're just, oh, it's pretty, thank you. Yeah, paint, paint, paint. Oh, that one's wet. Wet, wet, don't touch. Okay, so we're gonna just start making little round circles going about maybe a finger, middle finger, fingertip. What? Okay, hang on, I gotta get my partner out of here. All right, back to it. Got the blue going across here. I'm just making some even spaced little string lights. Kind of hard to see because that blue that I did this time was a little bit higher up, but now you can see there I got little extra string lights going across. This is blue and white for the string lights. So we got those going across, and they do go in front of the tree too in some spots. So don't be afraid to let those cross over. Just if you can't remember where your string lights are, you can look for them the best you can and always go over them in black if you want to. But these are hanging like just beneath those strings, so they don't have to be right up against it. But if they are, that's okay too. It's your painting in the end, so it's kind of your rules here. So I'm just going to create these little glows. So I'm just using a little bit of blue and white and just doing little circles, little twirls with my brush to create this little string light effect. And you can either have them all going across the front or you can have some tucked behind and away. It's really up to you. I know I got a string light up here, so I got to get that crossed over. And I kind of like the effect of when my paint starts to run out on my brush when I'm making these little glowy pieces, because they tend to look a little bit more glowy instead of just like bright patches of paint. Okay. So I just got some string lights going all the way across there. All right. Clean off my brush. And if you really want to make these stand out, there's two things you can do. You can take a little bit of plain white on the tip of your brush, and you can, oop, that's got a little bit of black on there. Take a little bit of plain white. If I can find some plain white on my brush, there we go. Some plain white, you can tap the center with just a teeny tiny bit and just take a little bit of your pinky finger to create like a little glow. That's one way of making it a little brighter in the center. Another way is just taking the tip of your brush here. This is the shortcut. You can take the tip of your brush and you can just add a little dot in the center of each one of those little string lights, and that you can either blend out with your finger or you can just leave them as is. So that's with white after all the string lights. A little dot with the back end of your brush on each one of those. You can blend them out with your finger or just leave them as they are. And just stamp them on there using the back side of your brush. Cool, cool. Okay, perfect. So I got my little string lights. I got my lights on the inside of them. So now those are glowing. These look real spectacular. We're almost through here. So for the same technique, for these little dots that are in the water that reflect off of these lights, you're going to use the same dot technique where you're taking the back end of your brush and dipping it into that white. And the same thing you did up here, you're just going to dot in the water down here, the reflection of the lights from the string lights. So you can just tap those in there all you want. However many you need. I'll give you a few seconds to work on those. I hope you guys are prepared to send me pictures too of your paintings, because it's really nice to see what everybody was able to achieve. So after the class, if y'all could send me your photos either to my page, my artist page, or if you can just send them directly to my phone if you need that number, you guys can definitely get it from me after this. Oh, Mom keeps trying to use her alcohol to clean off her brush. So just be careful, because that happens like all the time. When I was working regularly, like I would have people ruin their drinks all the time with paintbrushes. It happens so often. And I've seen people drink their paint water. I've seen people dip fries in yellow paint thinking it was mustard. I've seen it all. So much. What else have I seen? I've seen people do war paint in my classrooms. I've had people be Simba and all kinds of stuff. Paint's too fun. So, you can get a little wild and crazier. And the longer these videos go on, the more I'll be able to help you in a way that I'm not able to help like as I am in the classroom. So you guys being here with me in the beginning like this really helps me to find the kinds of like adjustments I need to make this really work for everybody. So thank you for being here and painting with me. The video will definitely be up at the end here, so you guys can like click back and look for like steps you might have missed and whatnot. So, or just to go over it again. So that's one beauty about these online live interactive videos versus an actual classroom, because once it hits 9 o'clock, like we gotta go, and usually like the end of the class we gotta go. So when it comes to these little sessions, you can always go back and like review. So this is an advantage. It is an advantage for you. Gosh, that's what I was trying to say. Okay, so far, this is what my mom has been achieving. She follows along with. I omitted the. She did not want to do the truck, which is fine. She does not have to do the truck, but this is hers so far. So this is her second time ever doing a class with me. You can see her little string line going up very much. So this is her second time doing a class with me ever, which is really, really awesome to see people's progress. I hope like once quarantine's lifted too, that I'll be able to have like different guests with me at a time to do these shows. And the further along that we get, like I can get more cameras up and whatnot. So it's a little bit more interactive between me and the person sitting with me painting. So definitely looking toward a bigger show eventually, but working our way up slowly. Probably shouldn't have said all that live, because somebody else is going to steal that idea now, but I'm an honest person and I can't help it. So here we go. We are going to start these next few steps, which there's not many. Oh, yeah, you got reflections in the water you got to do, lady. It's just the back end of your brush, dip it in the white paint and make dots. Yeah. So the same brush, you will take a little bit of white and blue, once again, a little bit more on the white side here, and very light, gentle strokes. We're just going to add some little extra streaks in the water, just around where our string lights are, because this is where we can really tell where the water's active or just, you know, reflecting there. You can cross over these little dots too. Don't feel like they're untouchable, because a little bit of a drag through them makes them look a little bit more realistic too. So I just threw in some little lines using some blue and white paint, a little bit more white than blue, and just very light touches, very light strokes, throwing them back and forth, very light. That's what I did there. Yeah, so let me show you again. Very light. You go just one way, one way. Yeah. I know I do a lot of brushstroke motion, but that's because I'm really used to handling brushes. If you're not used to using brushes all the time, they tend to be a little bit foreign. One technique that I tell people to do to help them kind of handle their brushes better is the closer you hold it down here, the more it's going to act like a pencil. So if you're doing really fine detail brush work, this is a great place to hold it. And especially since if the other parts of your canvas are dry, you can always use your pinky as a like a stabilizer. It can hold your hand steady for you. So that's like always one good technique. Another thing is, usually the more comfortable you are with your brushes, that's when you really end up back here doing detail work. But in the beginning, you should start a little bit closer, even with your bigger brushes. So for next time, we can talk that over again. So we're going to be done with our water down there. We're going to go back to our big brush real quick. We're going to add some leaves to our tree. Not too much. So I cleaned off my brush and I start smacking it on my paper towel here, just kind of breaking up those bristles a little bit more so that they're not so sealed up and stuff. I want them to be a little bit more spread out like this. I'm going to tap into the black paint. I'm not going to scoop because I want to keep those bristles nice and separated like that. So you want to tap. And now when it comes to these trees, we're going to have our branches here like that. We'll have our branch and we're just going to tap, 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 real lightly. And they're going to be pretty like sloppy and stuff at first, but they're going on a dark background. So just the more you tap out the excess paint, the more it's going to achieve that leaf-like effect. So you can either start high in the darker areas up here to get the excess paint off, and then you can come back to the ends of these branches here and really add some of those leaf techniques or those leaves. What I meant to say. So just kind of smack these around on there. We're just tapping. Hold on to your canvas if you're working on an easel so it doesn't end up in your lap, because I've seen that 1,000 times too. I'm just going to kind of tap on here towards the ends. I'm not filling up this tree. I'm kind of imagining it just being barely like blossoming, but I do want to add just some over here for some more volume. And of course, I'm not going to use a whole lot of paint when I come over to these little guys over here who definitely need some leaves. I'm just going to start tapping on them as well. Starting low at the bottom, dragging some of those branches out, and then kind of rounding them up at the top a little bit. You can leave some breaks and some space in between them because that makes it look a little bit more realistic. Let's go ahead and give this guy some volume. We can spread this one out more. He's got a really big trunk, so we can make this one nice and big. I don't know why all my trees are dudes, but usually they are. All right. So that's the tree texture. Oh, now I see where my kid got my bench here. Okay, so there is, after you get those trees taken care of, there's only one more thing you got to do to your canvas. And you know what that is? It's signing it. So you can take that little brush out, grab a little bit of whatever choice color paint you want. I'm going to use white here. And I'm just going to sign my name down the bottom right corner the way I do. And I usually do just my initials and like the last two numbers of the date of the year, but it's 2020, so I gotta write 2020 every time. So, sign my painting, nice and complete. We'll see my mom's here in just a second. I just want to let you all know that I am preparing for another class next weekend. So if you want to join in again, you definitely can. It's going to be the same colors plus one more. So next week we're going to add a color to our mix here. And it's going to be super, super fun to start working with more colors as we go along. So if you grow with me, you will also grow your collection with me. So as I do these videos, every 2 videos I'm going to introduce more colors, and then eventually I'm going to start swapping colors out for different ones and excluding colors and et cetera, et cetera. You know how it goes. We'll just get more variety and whatnot. So it will get a lot more fun and playful. So at this point in time, sign your painting, go back over the last few steps that you need to, message me if you need to. If you had a great time with your painting and you want to give me a little bit of help during these times, I do have some links down at the bottom where you can donate to me to help with supplies and stuff to keep doing these classes, because I'm not working right now. So this is one thing I really want to do, to interact with people and just kind of feel like a person again. So donation links down at the bottom in the description, and that will help give me supplies for my future classes so that we can continue to do this together. All right, I'm going to set us up some little previous steps here if I have some gifts for them, so that way you guys can use those. I think I only have the tree GIF. So we will hide the middle, and I will just show you that one there. So it's just tapping technique, just like that. Oh, hello. My mic has been off this whole time. Oh, goodness. Well, a lot of that in summary was just thank you. We're people, not printers. We all make something different all the time, and things just let things happen as they do. You always get better in practice, in time, and stuff. So don't feel like you know, this, if this is your first time painting with me, you're only going to get better. If this is your second time painting with me, you've probably seen some things where you've gotten better already with techniques used from last time. So you only get better as you go on. There we go. That was basically all I said, but I said it in a lot longer version. So the second time saying it's a little bit shortened up. It was a lot better. So, But yeah, you will get better the more you paint with me. But thank you all so much for coming out here and painting with me. I don't know if you heard me during my donation speech. I hope you did. Basically, I use the donations to supply these classes, and this is what helps me do what I love and share my love for painting with everybody else. But I'm not working, so this is the best possible way for me to supply myself with more supplies so that I can keep teaching these classes, because I would like to continue getting better with everybody. All right, but thank you all so much once again. Hit me up if you need some help at all. Just let me know. I am here for you. Thank you so much.